Stop booking that cruise cabin before you read this. Thousands of vacationers every single year make the same costly mistake, choosing the wrong cabin location and spending their entire dream vacation dealing with unbearable noise, constant motion sickness, and sleep-destroying vibrations that no amount of ocean breeze can fix. What if we told you that cruise lines strategically bury this information deep in the fine print, knowing most passengers will never find it until it is far too late? The cabins generating the most complaints are often the ones being pushed hardest during promotional sales, and the price difference between a nightmare cabin and a perfect one can sometimes be shockingly small. Experienced cruisers who have cracked the code on cabin selection are consistently getting better sleep, smoother sailing, and dramatically more enjoyable voyages than the passengers one deck above or below them. By the time you finish reading, you will know exactly which cabin locations to avoid at all costs, which hidden gems the cruise lines never advertise, and the specific deck numbers and positions that veteran cruisers fight over every single booking season. But here is the thing most cruise booking sites will never tell you. The cabin number you choose could be the difference between the vacation of your dreams and 7 nights of pure exhaustion. And if you have ever searched for cruise cabin tips, best cruise ship rooms, or how to pick the right cruise cabin, you have probably been served a flood of generic advice that skips right over the most critical details. So, in this section, we are going to cut straight to what actually matters. Because avoiding a bad cabin is not just about comfort. It is about protecting the money you already spent. The wrong room can mean 0 sleep, constant vibrations, and noise that follows you everywhere you go on that ship. And the frustrating part is that these cabins look identical to the good ones when you are browsing online. Same photos, same price range, sometimes even the same glowing reviews. So before you finalize that booking, you need to know exactly what to look for and what to run from. Most cruisers make the same catastrophic mistake when searching for cabins online. They click on the first result, promising best cabin categories, without realizing those generic guides are completely ignoring the single factor that determines whether you sleep or suffer. Here is what the cruise lines do not advertise, and what most travel bloggers conveniently skip over. The difference between a dream cruise and a sleepless nightmare comes down to one overlooked detail that savvy repeat cruisers have quietly known for years. Before you book another cabin based on price, category, or star rating, you need to understand exactly why location on the ship is the only metric that actually matters. The information in this guide will save you from the most common and most expensive mistake in cruise planning, and once you see it, you will never search for a cabin the same way again. Now, moving away from the pool deck, let's talk about another noise nightmare that catches countless cruisers completely off guard. Cabins located directly above, below, or beside the ship's nightclub or entertainment venues are among the most complained about on any vessel. Unlike pool deck noise that fades after midnight, nightclub bass doesn't stop until 2 or 3 in the morning. That deep, thumping vibration travels effortlessly through steel floors and walls, rattling everything in your cabin. You won't just hear the music, you'll physically feel it pulsing through your mattress. For families traveling with young children or guests who simply prefer early bedtimes, this situation becomes absolutely unbearable night after night. Cruise lines rarely highlight this when selling these cabins, so knowing the venue locations on your specific ship beforehand is absolutely critical before finalizing any booking decision. Before you hand over thousands of dollars for your dream cruise vacation, there are critical cabin selection mistakes that could completely ruin your entire trip. And the cruise lines are certainly not rushing to warn you about them. Most travelers book their cabins based purely on price and deck level, completely unaware that certain locations on the ship come with hidden nightmares that no glossy brochure will ever mention. From relentless engine vibrations that rattle your bones all night long, to cabins positioned directly beneath the pool deck, where dragging furniture wakes you at dawn. These are the insider secrets that experienced cruisers learn the hard way. In this guide, we're pulling back the curtain on every problematic cabin location you absolutely need to avoid, so you can finally book with confidence and actually enjoy the vacation you paid for. Now let's talk about another sneaky cabin trap that catches travelers completely off guard. If you book a cabin near the bow of the ship on the lower forward decks, you are placing yourself dangerously close to the anchor mechanism. When cruise ships drop or retrieve their anchor, the noise is absolutely jarring. We are talking about loud, thunderous clanking and grinding mechanical sounds that rattle through the walls and floors of nearby cabins. The worst part is the timing. Anchoring typically happens during early morning arrivals at port days, often between 4 and 6 in the morning, right when guests are sleeping most deeply. Many first-time cruisers have no idea this is even possible, making it one of the most shocking and frustrating surprises on any cruise vacation. Now let's talk about cabin location in terms of motion and comfort at sea. Many cruisers assume any cabin will feel the same once the ship is moving, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Interior cabins and outside cabins both suffer equally if they're positioned poorly on the ship. The real factor here isn't whether you have a window, it's where on the ship your cabin sits. Midship cabins on middle decks are widely considered the sweet spot by experienced cruisers. These cabins sit closest to the ship's center of gravity, meaning you feel significantly less rocking and swaying during rough seas. Cabins at the very front, known as the bow, or at the very back, known as the stern, experience dramatically more motion. During rough weather, these extreme positions can make even seasoned travelers feel genuinely uncomfortable throughout the entire voyage. Now, let's talk about something cruise lines are particularly sneaky about: obstructed view cabins. These are sold as ocean view rooms, often at a slight discount that makes them seem like a smart deal. But here's what they won't tell you up front: that obstruction can be absolutely massive. We're talking lifeboats hanging directly outside your window, thick structural beams cutting across your entire view, or heavy equipment completely sealing off any natural light. What you think is a scenic ocean view cabin essentially becomes an interior cabin, just with a window that stares directly into a metal wall or a massive orange lifeboat. The discount rarely reflects how severe the obstruction actually is. Cruise lines describe these cabins vaguely as partially obstructed, but reality tells a very different story once you're on board. Another cabin location that cruise lines rarely highlight is anything situated near laundry facilities or crew service corridors. These areas are essentially the behind-the-scenes engine of hospitality operations, and they never truly sleep. Industrial washing machines run continuously, producing a persistent rumbling that seeps right through cabin walls. Add to that the sound of heavy service carts being rolled across hard floors at 2 or 3 in the morning, and your peaceful vacation quickly starts feeling like a stay next to a loading dock. Crew members moving between service areas during shift changes create additional noise that guests simply do not anticipate when booking. These corridors are often unmarked on standard deck plan previews shown during the booking process, making it genuinely difficult for travelers to identify and avoid these problematic spots without doing serious research beforehand. Now let's talk about something cruise lines rarely highlight during the booking process: connecting cabins. These are cabins that share an internal door with the neighboring room, designed for families or groups traveling together. Sounds convenient, right? But here's the problem. That shared door between connecting cabins offers almost no sound insulation whatsoever. We're talking paper-thin separation between you and whoever is booked next door. You can clearly hear their conversations, their television running late at night, laughter, arguments, and every other sound coming through that door. It might seem like a minor inconvenience, but imagine trying to sleep while strangers next door are having a loud conversation at 2 in the morning. When booking, always check the deck plan carefully and specifically ask whether your assigned cabin is a connecting room. Another cabin location that catches guests completely off guard is anything situated directly below or adjacent to the buffet or main dining areas. At first glance, being close to food sounds convenient, but the reality is far less appealing. Kitchen operations run almost around the clock on cruise ships, meaning the clatter of pots, pans, and industrial equipment becomes your constant background soundtrack. Beyond the noise, food smells have a surprisingly strong ability to seep through ventilation systems into nearby cabins, which can feel overwhelming, especially if you are trying to sleep. Perhaps the most disruptive issue is the early morning setup activity. Kitchen and dining staff begin preparing for breakfast service well before sunrise, often starting as early as 4 in the morning, waking guests hours before they ever intended to rise. Now that you know what to watch out for, the single most powerful thing you can do is research your specific ship before booking. Every vessel is different, and what applies to one cruise line may not apply to another. Thankfully, you do not have to figure this out alone. Websites like Cruise Deck Plans allow you to visually map out cabin locations relative to problem areas on the ship. Community forums like Cruise Critic are goldmines of first-hand knowledge, where experienced cruisers openly share which cabin numbers to avoid and why. These are real people who have slept in those rooms and lived through those experiences. Spending just 5 to 10 minutes reading through these resources before confirming your booking can mean the difference between a dream vacation and a week of frustration you cannot escape. Now that you know what to watch out for, let's talk about how to actually avoid these problem cabins when booking. Your first move should always be requesting midship cabins on middle decks. These locations offer the best stability, the least noise exposure, and the most comfortable overall experience. Next, pull up the deck plan and identify which deck numbers sit directly below the pool or entertainment areas, then simply avoid those entirely. Do not assume the cruise line will volunteer this information. You need to ask directly. Call the cruise line or speak with your travel agent and specifically ask about noise levels and any view obstructions for your chosen cabin. Never confirm a booking without thoroughly reviewing the deck plan yourself. A few extra minutes of careful research before you book can genuinely save your entire vacation. So what if you've already booked and you're now worried about your cabin? Don't panic. There are still options available to you. First, contact the cruise line as early as possible to request a cabin change. Ships often have availability, and representatives can sometimes accommodate reasonable requests before sailing. Next, plan to arrive at the port early on embarkation day and speak directly with guest services at the terminal. Early arrivals occasionally get reassigned to better cabins when upgrades are available. If a change isn't possible, come prepared. Pack earplugs and a portable white noise machine. These simple tools can genuinely transform a noisy cabin into a manageable one. Most importantly, manage your expectations. Knowing exactly what to anticipate before you board removes the element of unpleasant surprise and helps you mentally prepare for a still enjoyable vacation. And if you found this video helpful, you are going to love our next one. Make sure you check out 15 things on your cruise you're totally missing most seniors walk right past. Trust us, there are hidden gems, secret spots, and overlooked perks scattered all over your cruise ship that most passengers never even discover. From tucked-away lounges to little-known dining tricks and onboard experiences that never make it into the brochure, this next video is packed with insider knowledge that could completely change the way you cruise. So go ahead and click on it now, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another tip from us. We will see you in the next one.